All right. Once again, guys, you were listening to the Dog Trainers Podcast, our interview with Mr. Brent Bailey. Now, just before we left, we were talking about the different elements of working with a dog depending on where they are. I mean, I want to say emotionally, but we're talking about a very real phenomenon, right? If the dog's heavy in their limbic system, right, all the blood's in that part of the brain and the dog's reacting very emotionally, it's cutting off the cerebral cortex part of the brain. So the dog...
Well, not completely cutting off, but it's inhibiting.
Right, inhibiting,
right?
I should say. I was going to say, so like in a very real sense, it makes it difficult. Like it literally makes it difficult for the dog to be capable of complex decision-making until the dog balances itself back out. Am I getting that right?
Yes. And to that point, I think that's very important information for us to understand, because I think we would stop ourselves from adding more stress to a stressed out situation. And if we kind of knew and said, all right, let me just ride the storm. And, because we have an expectation that we shouldn't have, you know what I mean?
Mm-hmm.
So, I mean, so that's, when it comes to all this, right? If I could give something to the dog trainers, right? Like out there, like a bullet point list of this is what you need, right? The first thing I would do is say, know why you're saying what you're saying. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
Like,
sure.
I want to give you an example of that, okay? How many of us have said, don't repeat your command over and over to a dog?
Mm-hmm.
Right.
Why? Why not?
Pavlov.
Well, you're probably going to say, because then it's not going to mean as much. Why?
Yeah.
Why? I don't get it. And we're going to get to the point if somebody keeps asking why, we're going to be like, I don't know.
Yeah. That's a good point.
It just doesn't, Well, let me tell you something. Dogs have something in their brain called the reticular activating system. This is the part of the brain that decides what's important and what isn't. If you move next to an airport, you're not going to hear airplanes after 4 days. If you buy a grandfather clock, you'll be the only psycho that doesn't hear it. Anybody who owns an animal shelter does not hear dogs barking anymore. You keep saying sit to your dog, your voice isn't going to RAS in your dog's brain. And guess what? That's why you don't repeat a command twice. So my point to the dog trainers are, go look at yourself and ask yourself why, and then find out. Google it. It's there. Free information.
Listen to the Dog Trainers Podcast and find out.
Yeah, right. Shameless plug.
Yeah, there you go.
So let me ask you a question, Brett. And I do want to keep stacking on top of the different elements of working with it.
Yeah.
But you're a coach. You're like 3 times a coach. Strength, life, dogs, right? So how would you address, or how do you address the trainers who are too far in one part of the brain or the other and therefore can't intake the information that they need for a dog or a client? It's
natural for us to get frustrated. It's natural. I'm on social media. People get frustrated at me all the time. All the time I see reactivity coming at me,
Right.
We need to look at ourselves, look at the dog and say, am I going to help this dog? Am I going to help this reactive dog by acting like this reactive dog?
Right.
We need to center ourselves with that. And the bottom line is, if you're going to get frustrated because you can't get results. Every one of us is. When that happens, I'm going to be honest, and I'm going to say something that I think I've told 2 people, right?
Yeah.
There was a point where I was dealing with so many reactive dogs that it's just like, oh God, I'm sick of defending myself and getting bit, right? And you're going into these small homes in New York City. I would go in, I would say, I'm going to do my assessment. My assessment's going to take anywhere between 20 to 30 minutes. And I would put on my earbuds and I'd listen to Disney music. That's what I'd listen to. And it relaxed me. Because how can I take it serious when I'm listening to Lion King and this dog's trying to bite my face off? It's not that. I'm like, whatever. But and I did it as a joke because it was just funny. But it kept me in a different zone. It kept me from being frustrated. So you don't have to listen to Disney music, But the bottom line is, do something.
Bro,
right?
I listen to NSYNC when I'm working out.
Dude, right. I slow jam and deadlift. I absolutely slow jam and deadlift. And that's, So I mean, think about it. I'm going to tell you a quick story if you don't mind. Just
please. The floor is yours.
So and this just goes to focusing on motion, not behavior. I have a emergency call program. You call me for an emergency, it's like $900. You have to book 4 sessions on top of that, and yada, yada, yada. So I drop whatever I have and I go, right?
Mm-hmm.
I got a phone call. This family was about to take their dog, who does like random resource guarding. They're about to take the dog out for a walk, and they said, oh, let's go get the treats. They drop the leash. They go get the treats. They come back. The dog's guarding the leash at the front door.
Oh, man.
They couldn't get out all day. So
Right.
4 p.m. they call me. They're like, we missed work today. So I go there. I go to Queens, right? Jackson Heights. And I have to climb up the fire escape. Yeah, I had to jump up and grab it, do a pull up, thanks for strength training, and climb up because I couldn't get in the door. So we get there, and I'm not lying about this. They're like, "What do we do?" Because the dog is drooling. It's getting, it's guarding that leash for its life.
Mm-hmm.
And I said, "Here's what you're gonna do. You go down the hallway where their bed. You could see the bed, the way their apartment was from the door." Go in your bed, both you. I need both you guys jumping up and down, have a pillow fight while singing Disney music. I'm not lying. They started this. 15 seconds in, that dog is gone. Race to the bed to enjoy the fun.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm. I love that.
All I did was change it from frustration to curiosity. That was it. The dog did not expect a pillow fight, jumping up and down on bed, singing. He says, "Why didn't you tell me this over the phone?" I said, "You would have hung up on me. I'm sorry." But it literally 1, 2, 3. So my point is, sometimes we get so frustrated. We're like, I'm going to rip this dog's neck off, and I'm going to get him away, and I'm going to manage it.
Yep.
When all you needed to do was just a little singing and dancing.
Yep.
It's crazy, but you have to understand how a dog feels to be able to help a dog. And again, I'm not a force-free trainer. I'm a balanced trainer that suggested pillow fighting.
Right.
That's it.
Right.
Well,
Which is not force free. It's so violent, pillow fights.
I know, right? Brinks in the pillows. If you guys are having marital issues, that'll solve that real quick.
Put some bars.
There you go.
But okay, so here's another question then. If you're dealing with a trainer, because I know you do a lot of Zoom calls with trainers, force free and balanced. How do you get them? How do you get a person who doesn't have the emotional understanding of yourself that you have to realize when they're just frustrated?
Well, they're having a Zoom session because they're frustrated.
Right.
So a lot of times they're already like, what do I do? And what happens is with every compulsion trainer, I don't want to say balance, I'm going to say the compulsion because it's the compulsion trainers that are hiding under balance, right?
Okay.
Those are the ones, right? When they call me, every time they lose money because they're only good at the suppression. So when they start taking on my methods, they lose money. And then I offer a lot of remote support. But the bottom line is everybody's got to get better.
Yeah.
You know what I mean?
And
it's
I would say,
as far
I would like compulsionitis in a way, right? Like you're stuck to like short programs. You're stuck to a certain price point. And I remember I loved it when we interviewed Michael Ellis. He goes, I'd never do a board and train less than 6 weeks. Ever.
I said that the other day. I'm like, I actually put a post about that. Like you like behavior modification, that's like 6 weeks, right? That's not a little thing. It takes 2 weeks for the dog to even connect with the person.
Yeah, right.
Yeah.
Then I mean, it's just behavior modification takes time.
But going back to the compulsion side, because I think there's like an itis that exists on the compulsion side, and then there's an itis that exists on the force-free side. And the itis is just the shit that gets in the way, or the shit that keeps you in that bubble, keeps you from reaching out and going more towards the balance side.
Well, here's what I think.
Yeah.
I use e-collars like 3 times in 3 years, right? Maybe 4 years. But I'll advocate for e-collars to the day I die.
Yeah, that's real.
Right, but the thing is like the only reason I'm advocating so much for them is because they're getting attacked. Yeah. So what happens is when you attack, tools, when you attack corrections, when you attack punishment, these people that are compulsion trainers stick to this like they're so patriotic about it that sometimes they overuse it because
just
they
to prove a
defend it
point.
so
Just to
much.
prove a point.
Yeah, and I'm like,
well, and I remember doing that as a when I started off in compulsion. I started off in Keeler method back in the day, and you know, it got to this point where someone asked me, she goes, "Do you ever do a program without a pinch collar?" And I'm like, in 5 years, I have not. You know? And in my mind, it's like how you have to. Well, who was it that called it the prong collar dance? It was like Sean O'Shea or someone, and he was just like, where you, like you spend 30 minutes just pitching that it's going to be okay, and it feels like a mother's bite on the neck, and blah blah blah, right? And it's just so funny because I remember it was around that time I was starting to see the fallout of compulsion, and I was starting to see, you know, the brick walls that I would hit, and I would see all these things, and that's when I went not completely force free, but I picked up as many force free books as I possibly could.
That's the stuff I want to get your like input on, Brett. So, number one, dealing with dogs who have like let's say we're dealing with a trainer who is already so comfortable utilizing a certain tool, which you know, again, I think we can agree can be used to like suppress a lot of. It's like a shortcut, right? But shortcuts don't have.
That trainer needs to tell me, look at me and tell me I'm okay suppressing dogs.
Well, what I'm saying is
right?
I don't think it's a conscious like I think a lot of trainers, a lot of let's say like newer balanced dog trainers. I think the prong collar is an interesting tool because you can like suppress a lot of behavior in such a weird way that it's almost like you're not fully aware that you're doing it.
You don't realize it. So many people I use a prong collar, they're like, they don't book any more sessions. They're like, oh, my problems are gone. Here's how I explain a prong collar to everybody. It's a microphone.
Right.
That's it. It is literally, it will not teach a language. It will just make it more clear what I'm trying to get the dog to understand. Right? Now, what we need to understand is it is also meant for compliance. Right? I'm okay with that. If I'm putting a prong collar, I'm looking for compliance. I'm looking for management. I'm looking for assistance. I need a microphone. But I'm not going to sit here and put a prong collar and be like, look how great the dog's doing. If he has a prong collar, he needs more help, obviously. My dog Nala has a prong collar all the time. She's 9 years old. She has a prong collar because the day there's a gunshot or firework in New York City, she's going to break her neck on anything else. You know what I mean? So I have to, I put a prong collar for safety reasons. But, you know, I don't think I'm going to do a prong collar with Saga because she's bomb proof, you know, and I don't think I'm going to need it. So, but I completely admit that my dog Nala needs help.
But,
like I admit that, you know, I'm okay with that.
And that's a fascinating point too, because I'm one of those trainers. Like I know that there's those two camps of like, you know, if the dog still needs the prong, they need more work, you know, and I think that there can be a lot of truth to that. But also I feel too like if the tool works, then it works, because I also kind of look at it from the element of the owner. So here's an example. Then I do a decent amount of e-collar. I think just because I really made it a point to learn it like 5-6 years ago to like I'm really, really comfortable in it. I can teach all kinds of different dogs on it.
Yeah.
And so I end up getting those dogs that have gone to like this method, that method, and then end up coming to us anyway. And here's a perfect example of like the dog didn't need it, but the dog owner combo did. So I trained a little poodle. The dog's name was Puppy, and he was the sweetest little thing on earth. He was the easiest dog. He did great with food. He did great with like leash pressure with just like and his regular collar, like not even a slip, you know.
Yeah.
But the mom is so old, I dare say she probably shouldn't have gotten a dog. And
prong collar. Done.
No, I didn't do a prong collar. No, because check this out. She was so old, bro. She couldn't even hold the leash without her hand cramping. So I trained that dog on an e-collar because that was literally the only thing she could do. You know, and mind you, it's a little poodle, and she's an old lady. Like if the dog's feeling like spunky, and hey, come here. Oh no, I'm gonna run around the chair. Like you're fucked. You're not gonna catch him. You know, she's old. She can hardly move. So like in that circumstance, it is that interesting dynamic where it's like the dog could have done great on anything. The mom was kind of the limiting factor. So that's when the tool really like earned its keep.
Yeah, but that's exactly why I said microphone, because most of the time I use a prong because of the human, not really because of the dog. You know, the human.
Sure.
I have people with disabilities, people that are, you know, elder people. I mean, so many people that just can't handle their dog. So that's a situation where I absolutely advocate for it. And that's when people sit here and bash anybody who uses a prong collar. A lot of times I think of my people that are like, they need it though. You know what I mean? You don't know what it's like living in New York City. You don't have the ability to control distance. That threat is coming past you and it will pass you.
Right.
What are you going to do? You know what I mean?
Like
So
I have a case right now that I got called by a homeless shelter, and it's the homeless shelter is part of this nonprofit, and there was a gentleman that they sponsor who's been living in his car with a German Shepherd for the last year and a half, and this German Shepherd, this guy is a double amputee on his legs. Okay, wow. He has a motorized wheelchair. He zooms around to take the dog potty, and they just got him housing in a motel. Right, because he was living in his car. Now he's in a motel, and the nonprofit called me and they were referred to me by another nonprofit that I worked with, and they said this dog needs training or the guy's getting kicked out of the motel. So that for me is a prong collar and an e-collar case.
Yeah, there's no
for
question.
For safety. You know what I mean?
Listen, here's the thing. We need to look at. Let's get into punishment for 1 second, okay?
Yeah.
People ask me, when do I feel, because I sound so force-free, right? When I want to help the dog emotionally, when do I sit here and make the decision that punishment is the best option, right? When I look at the dog and I look at the human and I realize both of them will live a better life if I provide punishment. So if I suppress the dog and provide punishment for something and that gives the dog more freedom, we're going to punish.
Yeah.
You know what I mean?
Yeah.
Right.
I will strike that dog down with Zeus's lightning bolt and we will be free. But the thing is, I'm going to, but that dog and human both need the benefit, not just the human, not just the dog. Right. And I've had situations like that, you know what I mean? And the problem is I don't go on social media and give punishment ideas because I believe an experienced professional needs to know how to do it.
Yes.
Right. And that's it. So you have to be careful with that.
Yes.
You know
and I think punishment is one of those, it's easier to fuck up with punishment
well, I think again, it's
backwards.
easier to overuse it because using it wrong can still get you somewhere. Yeah. Whereas using food wrong, food will get you somewhere, but you know what I'm saying? Where it's easy for someone.
I've had a client.
Suppression.
I've had a client that accidentally dialed her e-collar up too high when she first used it. It took us a week to get the dog. We had to go back to a slip lead and just do some basics and then layer the e-collar in later. But you know what I mean? Like it's easy to fuck up.
Oh, totally. Yeah. Oh, listen, I'm not gonna for a second argue that it's not easy to fuck up.
So that's why we need a professional, right?
Well, in fact, Brett was talking about advocating for tools, and you didn't explicitly say, so I'm going to assume that the reason why you advocate for tools, even if you hardly use them, is because you see their value, and therefore we shouldn't limit other people's access to them because they may benefit. So.
Yeah.
So I listened to this really interesting conversation on Instagram Live. You know Nino Douwert, the dude in Belgium? He's STS.
I love that guy, man. He's got great stuff.
Dude, Nino is awesome. We spoke to him not too long ago. We're hopefully going to have him on the podcast here pretty soon too.
That's great.
But anyway, he was talking to Denise, who we had on already, and they were going back and forth. It was like a 2-hour thing, and they were going back and forth about Denise. She was coming with this like level-headed approach of, I don't think we should ban tools, but I don't think they should be as readily available as they are currently. And Nina was making a very valid point because her explanation, her reasons were because when you look at dog trainers or you look at dog owners, 90% of people get it wrong. I understand that the 10% get it right. And Nino kept cutting her off whoa, 90% says who? Where's this statistic? I need you to show me where these numbers are coming from, because right now I just hear you saying what you think, and you're using what you think to basically cut all the rest of us off from having easy access to a tool. And that's a valid ass point too. So I was listening, oh yeah. And I'm going back and forth with both of them. But her point that I almost, it's like one of those things where I don't know yet if I agree with it or not, but it's worth taking the time to sit and think about. She was like, go ahead.
What if the only way to get a tool was to hire a trainer, and
that's what she was.
That tool needs to have a serial number of the trainer, And so if you get caught misusing it, it goes back to that trainer.
To the
well, see,
practitioner.
that's what she was saying, and that's why I was like, I guess I wouldn't be opposed to that. Like I guess I don't really see the only downside I see to that is if you have to attach the tool to training, then now the price point goes up, and maybe people with not that much money, like, because then purchasing the tool is one thing, then you got to do some training. But at the same time, though, it's like I do hear the like, well, you got a dog, like, so it's a fascinating one.
Yeah, well, I think it would get people. People would say, I really need that tool. I'll just splurge for a trainer because I can't do it. Here's the deal. This is what I don't like about the suburban dogs. When I get a call from New Jersey or Connecticut, that dog's already fucked. Okay, you cannot deal with that shit. If you have a fearful, aggressive dog in New York City, you every day your life sucks. I can take an aggressive dog up and down the streets in Jersey and maybe never see anything, see one thing a month. So I'm never going to help my dog, right? So the problem is that person very likely won't ever hire a trainer, doesn't need a tool, doesn't care. And that person's probably the person that's going to get a tool, not care how to use it, and screw up his dog even more, and nobody ever know. The people who live in those the urban environments like New York City or Philadelphia or maybe even Los Angeles, right? You're going to be a business because they're going to be like, I need a tool, I need help. And now we can sit here and do it right. But again, like, I mean, I see both sides, but I kind of like, I think if we regulated it a little bit, it wouldn't get banned. Right.
Well, see, but that's the fascinating back and forth, because it's like, because I can't disagree with any of that, because there's just not really anything logically to disagree on, except for maybe if it costs more, at what point do they just get rid of the whole dog? Like, it's a fascinating back and forth. But anyway, I wanted to get your thoughts on that. So. Yeah, man. I mean, it was that, and I had another question. This is a little offbeat because it was like 10 minutes ago, but I really wanted to make sure I asked this. You seem like someone, even if you're not talking very intricate, like inner workings of dog training, you seem like the kind of person who can clearly and comfortably explain your like program and price point, let's say. Like, have you ever had that client that's like, this package, is there any way you can bring that cost down? Or is there any way you can whatever? And I ask because we were talking in this context about Michael Ellis was saying his shortest programs are like 6 weeks. And I've had my annoyances with local training programs that are like annoyingly short. And I do a lot of e-collar, but they do straight only e-collar from beginning to end. So they get the dog done in 2 weeks. Like any dog, anything. And I think that's stupid. And
yeah.
What I'm asking you then is, how would you give advice to a newer trainer who isn't as comfortable, as confident as you are explaining your process, to get them comfortable asking for more time on average?
So, couple things. First, I have know,
question.
it is a good question. I'm different. I give people a session. I send people an entire written program. I let them know everything we're going to do. And I don't let them book session 2 until they complete the homework for session 1. I don't take their money. I don't let them book it. I say, this is what you have. When you complete your homework, then call me. And I won't even allow it. Right? The thing is, when they get that call, I will make sure I make room for them that week. I'll be like, all right, I'm over there. Right? So I kind of keep in touch with them. But that kind of gives it a little edge where they're like, dude, like, it's no commitment. If you're not committed, cool. I don't need to be frustrated. But a lot of them are like, man, I want to do my homework so I can get that other session. I see what he's going to do. I want to get there. And it's kind of cool. But I have a whole written out program. Now, for a young trainer, like you said, they need to have a strategy. What they need is, because if they don't have this, they can't explain it. They can't explain it. They can't sell it.
Exactly.
Right? They're not going to have the confidence, right? So what they need is, first thing, you need a strategy. What is your strategy? And if people don't know what that means, it's like, well, for me, my strategy is activate curiosity, bridge that to play. From play, I teach how to have a happy dog and everything else, whatever. Your strategy could be teaching your dog to control its impulses, regardless of the distractions while building confidence. I don't know. But my point is, elevating the relationship between the dog and him, whatever.
Have a process. Yeah.
Have your strategy. Then what's your methods to get that strategy, right? So if I'm going to sit here and my strategy is I'm going to activate curiosity to get this dog to want to go outside because it's so scared to go outside. What's my method? Mm-hmm. Well, let's get to it. My method has to be, and this is important, it has to be in a building block fashion.
Right.
Too many trainers, especially new trainers, do this exercise, and then hope for the best.
Fit together, yeah.
Right. And when they don't hear from the client, they don't think about it because they have other clients.
Right.
Mm-hmm.
But that client's going to somebody else.
Yeah.
So if I'm going to sit here and take a fearful dog, I'm going to start off with target work. We're going to just teach the dog to touch an orange cone. I'm going to put fish oil on the top of that cone just to create a little more curiosity. And we're going to teach that target work. No expectation. You touch the cone, you get food. And we're going to do that all over the apartment. Then you know what we're going to do? We're going to hide the cone and get to the point where the dog can find the cone. Then we're going to sit here and put the cone in the hallway. And then we're going to go outside, put the cone in the hallway, and then we're going to go back. I'm going to sit the dog in the crate, let him chill. Guess what? Going outside and playing with the cone, going out in the hallway playing with the cone doesn't mean we're going outside. Now we're releasing a layer of stress. The next building block is we're going to go in the foyer. And we're going to go get that cone in the foyer. Now the dog's like, you know what? I love going out through the door, through the hallway, out in the foyer, because it doesn't mean we're going outside because I'm scared to go outside. And I like that. Yeah. Now we sit here, we just eliminated 6 layers of stress. Now we're going to go outside, and guess what I'm going to do? Just tap, touch outside, tap, touch outside. Then we're going to go inside. We're good. Just 4 minutes. Don't stress out too much. Eventually, I'm going to get to the point where that cone is up the block. That dog is going to run, touch that cone, run back to me and grab some food. Guess what just happened? That dog ran through the city block, overcoming stress and pressure, coming back to me for greater reward, and then we're gonna turn that into play. That dog has conquered life. And all that happened because I took target work and made building blocks of it. That's right. Perfect. Now, if you're going to do place, what's your building block? So basically what I'm saying is, what the fuck is the next step?
Yeah.
And if you can't say that, you're not selling a program.
No, you're selling a module in someone else's program.
Exactly. Yeah. So that being said, and by the way, I have friends that have programs and they're just like, oh yeah, this is what I do.
Yeah.
Like, just always have something, build a program. I heard
a cool quote, and I don't think it's original, but I really like the way it was given. It said, if you have a dream and you put a date next to it, it's called a goal. And then he goes, and if you take that goal and break it up into a bunch of doable pieces, it's called a plan.
And you have a plan.
And then you have a plan, right?
There you go. I love it.
and that's really dog training, right? It's like, what's my goal? Confident dog. Okay, let's break it up into a bunch of not all, but as an example,
Yeah. Isn't it so interesting how many people don't have those building block
You know what?
formats?
That is really true, because I mentor a lot of young trainers, and one thing I ask them is I say, what does a dog trained by insert name look like? And they go, he listens. You know what I mean? Like, no, like, is he super playful? Is he super obedient? Is he super confident? Like, what is the dog's gonna know at the end of it? Like, what is it? And then they're like, well, it's based on the dog. I know, but like, do you have not necessarily like a cookie cutter, but do you have adjustments, and do you have pathways? Like, do you know how to solve a vast amount of problems, or do they know what they want the outcome potentially to be?
Yeah, well, can you see the formula? Are you working towards something with a purpose? Sure, it's the same thing as the quote, right? For sure.